Hi, welcome back. This is What If Deku Was the Son of Zeus, Part 2. I'm the Crown Clown, and where we last left off, it was, Zeus was in Olympus waiting for Deku. He was planning everything out, and he was having flashbacks of the great war of the gods that happened. A war that wiped out just about all of the gods. There's only 5 of them in existence now, with Aphrodite, Athena, Apollo, Zeus, and Hades. Well, not Hades, Poseidon. And Zeus doesn't have a whole lot of time left. He's just like, okay. So, Deku and Poseidon get there, and Zeus greets his son. He gives him a hug, and he's like, "Welcome to Olympus, my son. It's a shadow of its former self, but it will do." And, he walks him around, and, he introduces him to the other gods there. He's like, "This is my son, Apollo. He is pretty much a half god, same as you. His mother was Leto. And I am his father, so this is your big brother. Apollo, this is your younger brother, Izuku Midoriya." And Apollo, he's like, "Cool, I got a brother now." And he's like, "Well, I guess I've had other brothers, but still. This one seems different, Dad." And Deku, he's excited. Like, he's got a big bro now. He's just like, awesome. And, Athena meets him, and she's just like, "Well, hello, how are you?" And Deku's just like, "Oh, I'm actually kind of overwhelmed at the moment, but I'm managing." And Athena's like, "Don't worry, we're here to train you. I will be in charge of your studies. And Apollo will be helping with your physical task." And then Zeus takes him to meet Aphrodite. And Aphrodite starts trying to flirt with Deku immediately because she sees this as an opportunity to get some new dick. And Deku, he's just like, "Look, we're pretty much family, and I don't do the whole incest thing." And Aphrodite, she's like, "Too bad. I would have blown your world. All the years of sex experience I've got. Oh, well, I guess I could still teach you a thing or two." And she's like, "You can always watch me and Apollo." And Apollo's just like, "Yo, I'm already going to be teaching him enough. I don't think my brother wants to be watching me, pipe you down." Especially since he said he wasn't into the whole incest thing. And, she's just like, "All right, suit yourself. But I'll still teach you. If you want, come by my room and I'll teach you." And, Deku sees this other girl walking around up there, picking things up. And he has Zeus, who is she? And Poseidon actually steps up and he's like, "That is someone I brought up here. She was orphaned after an incident. She's only 17. She's Irish. That natural red hair, and she has green eyes. Eyes as green as emeralds, actually." And Deku's like, "So she's just immortal?" And he's like, "Yeah, she does have her chores. But once I leave Olympus, I'll be bringing her with me. Unless she chooses to stay with Athena, who she's taken a liking to." It's really her choice. I'm not her father, so I can't really tell her what she should decide. And Deku's just like, what's her name? And Poseidon says, we named her Merida. And he's like, Merida, huh? Cool. And Poseidon says, she'll also be taking care of you and bandaging your wounds. So, you two will get to know each other quite a bit over these 10 months. And Deku's like, sounds good to me. And Zeus is just like, but your mind must be focused on your training. Athena, take him with you, start his schooling. And after you're done teaching him for the day, send him to Apollo. Apollo, increase his reaction speed and his focus. Those are the main two we need to work on. Poseidon and I shall oversee and step in when we need to apply more pressure. And Deku, he's just like, what do you mean apply more pressure? He's like, if you're slacking off too much, we will be your opponents. And Deku's already scared of Poseidon. And Poseidon's told him Zeus is even stronger. So Deku's not really wanting to fight his dad. So he's just like, I understand. So, Deku's with Athena. They're going over every, subject, just increasing his, smarts by leaps and bounds. And Deku's just a prodigy when it comes to learning book smarts. He's getting incredibly smart up there. He knows practically every subject now. And Deku, he keeps on going, and then he goes over to Apollo. And Apollo is actually teaching Deku more about control and reflexes, and Apollo tells him, I'm going to shoot arrows at you, and you're going to dodge them. It will require both focus and reflexes. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going to be shooting them either. You're going to have to predict and dodge. And he's like, oh, and one last thing. These won't be just arrows that just hit you and you feel nothing. No, if you get hit by these, they're going to cut you. I'm using real arrows here. And Deku's just like, alright, how hard can this be? Apollo shoots an arrow. Deku can't even see it. And it grazes right past his cheek, leaving a cut mark. And he's just like, oh, fuck. He's like, you weren't focused, so you couldn't see it. Now focus. Deku, he's focused solely on the attacks, and he's doing his best to dodge it. And, he spent about a month with Athena alone. And, during that month, whenever he was done with his studies, he practically just spent time with Merida, getting to know her and everything. And Deku's actually taken a liking to her quite a bit. He's just like, she's really cute. And Aphrodite sees this and she's like, I can teach you to get some game and you might actually score with her. And Deku's just like, alright, fine. So about 2 weeks into the month, and Deku's learning night classes on how to flirt and how to, get into a girl's pants from Aphrodite during the night. Yeah, Deku's going to be learning something from every god up here. So, now we're on the month of training with Apollo, and Deku, he's getting cut up real bad, and he's getting so exhausted he can barely even continue the night classes with Aphrodite. But Aphrodite, she's not giving up. She's like, oh no, you signed up for this, so you're going to learn. And, you know, Deku's like, damn, alright, fine. And so, you know, Deku, he's in his bath, and Aphrodite's like, I told you to come by my room. Deku's just like, I'm taking a bath, and I can barely even move. And she's like, fine then. Class will start right here, right now. And Deku's like, I'm butt fucking naked. And Aphrodite's like, so? And Deku's like, fuck. So Aphrodite strips down naked, and Deku's just like, oh shit. This is like the first time he's seen a woman naked. Especially a woman with the proportions of Aphrodite. Just toned body, fucking double D's tits. Her ass is just immaculate. And she's got a somewhat of a slim waist. So Deku's just like, fuck. Like, there ain't no way Deku's just not reacting to that. His face red, and Aphrodite's like, yeah, that's a sign of a virgin. And, she's basically showing Deku all the sweet spots on a woman's body. All that shit. But she's also showing him where the pressure points are in the body. And she's like, this can be beneficial for your combat as well. Deku's just like, how? And he's like, look, the easiest way to get people to not fight is through pleasure. So there's pleasure points for the women that you may have to fight. But there's pressure points for the men you have to fight. And Deku's just like, where are the pressure points? And Aphrodite shows him the best pressure points for him to hit. And Deku's like, alright. Cool. And it's at this time that Deku's focus really forms into one of his newer powers that he's discovering. He's looking around and everything is moving slower to him. And Deku's moving around, and Aphrodite's looking. She's in normal time, but to her, it's like Deku is kind of in one place at a moment, and then as soon as she blinks, he's in another. And by the time Aphrodite gets a sentence out and Deku hears it, he's just like, time manipulation. Huh. And Aphrodite calls Deku's name. Deku looks over. She's spread-legged, just leaning back and having a finger point, just positioning him to come here. And that breaks Deku's whole concentration, and everything goes back to normal. He's just like, after the next, oh, that worked. Okay, cool. And Deku's like, what the fuck was that? And she's like, getting you to break that concentration so you would not be using the time manipulation. And he's like, I got time manipulation? She's like, Zeus does, so do you. You're just not good at it yet. And Deku's just like, okay, cool. I'll work on that. She's like, yeah, you're going to have to. So Aphrodite gets dressed and, she leaves. And, that's when, Merida comes in and she sees Deku completely naked. Her whole face turns red and she's just like, And Deku's just like, fuck. probably looks like I just got done screwing Aphrodite. And he was like, it's not what it looks like. I can promise you, it's not what it looks like. And she's just like, it's none of my business what you choose to do with, Mistress Aphrodite. There's like, it's not like that. Like, literally, she was just teaching me about pressure points. That's all. And she's just like, look, you don't have to convince me, I already know your stance on her. And he's like, thank God she believes me. And she's like, but, your friend down there is probably disagreeing with you. And Deku's just like, fuck, I'm still hard, aren't I? And, Deku's, he tries to walk off, but he ends up slipping and hitting his head on the ground. And Merida comes over there to try and help him up, and, Deku's like, oh, thanks. And something just comes over Deku. Like, seeing her, he takes her, and he just kisses her right there on the spot. Like, he didn't even think about it. He just did it. And after he gets done kissing her, he's just like, oh, fuck. And he starts apologizing, and he's like, I don't know what came over me. And, Meredith, she's like, you don't have to worry about it. I actually enjoy that. And she's like, well, I gotta be going now, but I'll see you tomorrow night. And Deku's just like, kissing a girl totally naked. Dad would be proud. And Zeus is just like, yeah, I am proud. At least I would have been if you had actually gotten something else besides just a kiss. And Deku's just like, how long have you been there? And he's just like, I just walked in here. And Deku's just like, oh, fuck. Because Zeus is in the tub, just chilling. And Deku's just like, fuck. But then he thinks, this is the perfect opportunity, actually. He's like, hey, Dad, apparently I got something called, time manipulation. And Zeus is happy as fuck to hear that. He's just like, when did you figure this out? He's just like, when Aphrodite was in here, I was just like so focused on trying to get the time to just stop, and it happened. Not fully, of course, but it happened. And Zeus is ecstatic to hear that. He's like, I am so happy to hear that. And he's just like, you have no idea how happy that makes me to hear you having time manipulation. And he's like, yeah, my lightning control's gotten a whole lot better too. He's like, I've seen. You can almost fully master your lightning. Keep it up, you're going to be an amazing god. He's like, we should call you the god of lightning. And he's like, I'm just a demigod, right? He's like, it don't matter now. Apollo's the same, but he's a god. You can be a god too. Once you master these abilities, my son, you will be a god. And Deku's just like, you really mean that? And Zeus tells him, abso-fucking-lutely. But you're gonna have to lose your virginity first. And Deku's just like, I'm working on it. And, he gets back in the tub, and him and Zeus talk about just random shit. Zeus mainly just teasing him over how much Deku likes that girl, but still is just like so shy around her. And Deku's basically just like, man, fuck you. Poseidon, he hears that and he kind of wants to join in on the laughing and the bonding and shit. So he goes in there and it's just like they're just all bonding and shit. And Athena, she's brushing out Meredith's hair. And she's just like, so where would you want to go once we're done here? You know we're not going to have that much longer on Olympus anyway. And she's like, I know. I kind of want to stay with you. And Athena's like, are you sure, Merida? You seem to be getting awfully close with Izuku. Are you sure you wouldn't want to stay with him? And, Merida looks at her and she's like, well, if I go with Poseidon, there's a chance I'll just end up being, his cousin. And I don't think I could live with that. And Athena's like, okay. You want to be able to be his woman, his lover, correct? And she's just like, less of his woman and more of his lover. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she's just like, he's nice and all, but he's not someone who I'd really consider to be my future husband. But friends with benefits, that works out more for me. She's like, you've been spending too much time around Aphrodite. She's just like, well, not much people to talk to around here. And Athena's like, yes, I do know that. And she's like, well, you're old enough to make your own decisions, so if you just want to have him as a fuck buddy, go ahead. He's clearly into you. And she's like, oh, I know. So while that's happening, Deku, he's actually really just trying to pull the time manipulation off again. And he does. And since Zeus can move around inside of it with him, Zeus is walking him through it. And Zeus realizes this is the way to test him. Like, just test him like this. He can test him all in one night. And, he actually helps Deku master the time manipulation. It's not perfectly mastered, but it's mastered to where he can control it at will without taking a lot of effort to do it. And he's like, all right, rest up. Tomorrow we master lightning. And he's like, what about training with Apollo? He's like, fuck your training with Apollo. You're training with me now, son. For the remainder of the time, like, for the rest of these 8.5 months, you're training with me. And he's like, yes, sir. And Poseidon's just like, damn, I haven't seen Zeus this excited since he met your mother. And that guy's just like, really? Like, he was never this excited about teaching his other sons. I guess it's because you have so much more of his powers than any of the other ones did. And Deku's just like, huh. Okay. He's like, he's kind of bummed that you don't have shape-shifting, though. That's kind of one of his favorite powers. And we already know you can't manipulate or, determine mortals' lifespans either. So all we really got to test is your lightning and weather control powers. And Deku's like, what do you mean test my lightning? I already have it. And he's like, no. Test how destructive it is. Tomorrow with Zeus, you're going to be destroying shit. And Poseidon, he gets out and Deku, he's just telling Deku, like, rest it up, you're going to need it. And Deku's like, oh shit, alright. So Next day comes, and Deku is just going all out with his lightning, and Zeus is just telling him, "You're not stopping until I say so. Keep using that lightning." And Deku is exhausted at this point. He is to the point of collapse, and Zeus just keeps telling him, "Go, go, go." He's pushing Deku to the limit of his exhaustion to see what will happen. And sure enough, Deku collapses, and his power just won't work because he's exhausted. And, Zeus tells him, "You're good for 10 hours straight." Impressive. But your lightning lacks a lot of power. Probably because of your timid nature, but we'll work through that in time. And Deku's just like, "What do you mean it lacks destructive power? I leveled an entire mountain." And Zeus says, "Yeah, but it took you like 300 strikes. Doing that would only take one strike of my lightning." And Deku's just like, "What the hell?" He's like, "Alright, rest up. Tomorrow we're going to test your weather control. See if you have it or not." And Deku's just like, "Shit. Alright." So Deku rests up, and, Merida comes in, and she's like, "Hey, how'd it go today?" And Deku's like, "Exhausting." And, Merida's like, "Well, maybe I could help, bring some life back into you." And Deku's like, "Oh, what you mean?" And, Merida takes off her robe, and she's like, "I mean, how about you give me what I want, and I'll give you what you want?" Deku's like, "Oh, you want to fuck?" And she's like, "Yeah, I want to fuck." She's like, "Look, the only other guy up here to fuck is Apollo, Zeus, and Poseidon. Not happening. But you are very attractive, and you're young. You're my age. Just about. I'm just a year or so older than you. So, let's do it." And Deku's like, "Fuck it, come on." He's like, "I need to quit being so timid anyway, so you're actually helping me out with that." And she's like, "Yep, confident will help bring out your powers in spades. And a timid god is not a respectable one." And, Deku's just like, "Technically, I won't be a god till after I lose my virginity." That's what Zeus said anyway. And she's like, "Oh, good. I get to be the one that turns you into a god. Let's do it." So she jumps on top of Deku, and she takes off Deku's toga and just throws it. And, she starts giving Deku head. She's sucking his dick and, jerking him off a bit. And then, Deku, he's playing with her, fondling her tits, fingering her pussy, slapping her ass. And Deku's just like, all right, get on my dick. And, she puts in her, and she starts riding Deku like a fucking mad woman. And Deku's enjoying. He's just like, "Oh shit." He smacks her ass, and he sucks on her tits. And she's just like, "All right, your turn to get on top." And Deku's like, "Shit, I ain't getting on top. You gonna be bending over." So he puts her face down into the bed and lifts her ass up in the air, and he starts fucking the shit out of her. He pulls her hair and all that shit. that happens for about like 30 minutes, and Deku, after that, he's done. And, being a god now, Deku is definitely welling down on that shit. So she definitely enjoyed herself. And, Zeus knows what's happening because, unbeknownst to Deku, there's a fucking thunderstorm happening that is shaking all of Olympus. And Deku just thinks it's Zeus. But it's actually him. And Deku, as soon as he comes, the biggest fucking thunderclap happens in the sky that just shakes everything. And Deku just, as soon as he pulls out, he's just fucking done. He just passes the fuck out. He is asleep. And Merida, she can't even move, so she just passes the fuck out too. And next day comes and Zeus is like, "Hey, wake up, Izuku, wake up!" And Deku, he's just like, "Huh? Oh, sorry." And Deku sees, Merida's gone, and he's just like, and Zeus is just smiling at him. He's like, "You get what you needed last night?" Deku's just like, "Oh yeah, big time." And Deku's like, "What you doing, like, creating the storm last night?" Zeus is just like, "That wasn't me. That was you." And Deku's just like, "That was me." He's like, "Yeah, apparently you did it subconsciously, but hey, you still did it, so we're gonna work on that today." And Deku's just like, "Don't I get a rest day?" And Zeus is like, "You can rest after the 10 months is up." And Deku's just like, "Fuck." And Zeus is like, "Yeah, but keep doing more fucking. It's clearly working for your personality." And Deku's just like, "Okay, sure, why not?" So, Deku, he's gaining, more confidence in himself, and his abilities are manifesting more strongly because of that confidence. And Deku realizes he can manipulate the weather to an extent, but not the same extent Zeus can. Deku can only create thunderstorms, nothing else. So Zeus goes over all of Deku's powers with him. He's like, "You got super strength, enhanced speed, lightning, partial weather manipulation, but only with thunderstorms, and some form of time manipulation." That is honestly really good. That's really good. That's the most any single offspring of mine has ever had of my powers. I am very happy with this. Zeus tells him, "You'll be ready." So, for now, all we're going to do is increase your strength, focus on enhancing your abilities to as much as we can in combat training. That's pretty much it. And that's all, but that's all they do for the rest of the months, which is like 2 at this point. But all throughout the time, like Deku and Merida, they've been going at it with each other every night. At the end of every training session Deku's done, like he's been fucking knocking it out of the park with Merida. And Deku, he's developed feelings for her, and she's just like, "Hey, don't get attached. Like, we ain't gonna become anything. Like, we're just helping each other out with these sexual urges." And Deku's like, "That hurts, but alright." fine. And she's like, all right, glad you understand. So, Deku, Zeus, and Poseidon all head back down to where Inko's at. And Zeus actually tells Deku before he goes, look, we won't be coming back to Olympus. All of the other gods are leaving Olympus as well. Olympus is dead. And I don't have much time left, son. The injuries I sustained from fighting Hades and Thanatos and Hera were too great. I can't extend my life anymore. I got about a few months left in me at the most. Few weeks at the least. I'm glad I got to meet you, son, and I'm glad I got to bond with you more than anything else. But our time's running out. So let me see what you're capable of right up to the end. And he says that, and as soon as Deku turns around to hug him, Zeus is gone. The life in his eyes fade and Zeus dies. And Deku says, he just told me he had a few weeks at the least. And Poseidon, he hugs Deku and he tells him, look, Zeus always tried to act tough, and he probably thought he did have a few weeks left. But you have to understand the severity of his wounds. He was missing several of his organs. It's amazing he survived this long. He was filled to the brim with just Hades' curses, and honestly, it's just amazing that he lasted this long. But Hades, Thanatos, Hera, they were too much for him to take single-handedly. At the end, I ran my trident through Thanatos' chest for stabbing Zeus in the back and letting Hades, with all his evilness and all his magic and powers, curse Zeus and Hera for injuring him and breaking his heart. Zeus ran his hand straight through Hades' chest, ripping out his heart, killing him. But he couldn't bring himself to kill Hera. So with my trident, I threw it straight through her neck, taking her head clean off. So your father's betrayers have been dealt with, but you made him more proud than he ever has been of a son. And Athena, Apollo, Aphrodite, they all feel it. The king of the gods finally died. And Deku is crying in his uncle's arms. And that's where I'm leaving it off for today. So I hope you guys did like this video, and if you did, I'd appreciate a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you guys are new here. This has been the Crown Clown, and I'll catch you guys later.